A horrific high-speed crash. The motorcycle was smashed to pieces. Male lead Eric Estrada lay collapsed on the road with 10 broken ribs and a punctured lung. That was not a scripted scene. That was a 100% real accident that almost took the life of the CHiPs star right over the handlebars. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. Behind the sunny smiles of the two handsome cops in 1977 was a backstage full of conflicts to the point of not looking at each other. Bizarre contracts forbidding actors from gaining weight, and the male lead even, not knowing how to ride a motorcycle when accepting the role. Don't leave the screen, because 20 bizarre facts behind the icon CHiPs right following will completely shatter everything you ever knew about this movie. Before going into detail, don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel to dig up more classic Hollywood behind-the-scenes stories with me. Now let's get started. Number 1, CHiPs became a breeding ground for future stars. One of the most interesting things when re-watching old television shows is catching famous faces before the time they were famous. CHiPs was precisely a goldmine like that. Spanning 139 episodes across 6 seasons, the film needed a huge amount of actors and accidentally became a gathering place for countless future big talents. Michelle Pfeiffer once appeared here before rising to become a top Hollywood star. Bryan Cranston contributed a face in 1982, very long before the time of Malcolm in the Middle or Breaking Bad. Ed Harris also managed to drop by before building an illustrious acting career. Even David Caruso appeared from very long before the sunglasses removal gesture, along with super cool lines became his trademark. Especially Michael Dorn was attached for up to 3 seasons in the role of Officer Turner, before stepping onto the ship Enterprise with the role of Worf in Star Trek. Now re-watching the film is no different from flipping open a yearbook of the future star lineup. Number 2, Eric Estrada did not know how to ride a motorcycle. Try to imagine you are producing a television show with a topic revolving around patrol officers on big displacement bikes. You spend months coming up with ideas, casting the main lineup, and preparing everything thoroughly. Then someone suddenly asks the key question: does the guy playing Ponch really know how to ride a motorcycle? The whole crew goes silent because the answer is completely no. At the time of holding the role in hand, Estrada had never touched a motorcycle handlebar even once in his life. This was clearly a big barrier for a project where the motorcycle was no different from a third main character. The production team immediately registered him for an accelerated course lasting about 8 weeks to train the skills that not long after he had to display in front of millions of viewers. Even so, this journey was not smooth at all. Estrada once admitted he had to take the exam until the 3rd time to smoothly get his driver license. There was once some supervisor out there who heavily failed the person who later became one of the most famous motorcycle icons on screen. Despite a rough starting point, he picked up the pace extremely fast. After only a few years, the audience naturally believed that he was attached to motorcycles since childhood. His confidence, along with the charisma of mastering the handlebars, completely convinced the viewers. Number 3, Eric Estrada almost died while filming the show. Do you remember Estrada having to learn how to ride a motorcycle from scratch for this role? After a few years, he was riding quite proficiently and gradually became comfortable on the bike. Even somewhat overconfident, because by 1979, he handled many riding scenes himself. But then a serious incident occurred. During a recording segment, his motorcycle sped too fast and crashed straight into a car that suddenly stopped. The collision threw him over the windshield, slamming his body onto the hood before the motorcycle, weighing up to 400 kilos, collapsed onto his chest. He broke many ribs, fractured his sternum, broke his wrist, and punctured a lung. Doctors diagnosed his survival chance at only 50-50, and a helicopter was dispatched for emergency relief. Larry Wilcox was also right at the scene when the accident happened. According to Estrada's account, seeing his co-star start turning purple, Wilcox immediately recognized signs of a collapsed lung thanks to his experience serving in Vietnam. He continuously talked to keep Estrada conscious while waiting for the helicopter to arrive. The accident quickly became the focal point across newspapers. The film crew even utilized the hotness of the event by shooting a few scenes right inside his actual hospital room. The near-death experience haunted Estrada to the point of intending to quit the profession completely. But the thing that pulled him back to the motorcycle was a brand new Rolls-Royce from MGM. This expensive gift worth six figures was both a get-well wish and a clever lure for him to agree to return to work. The studio also gave Larry Wilcox a similar one, a reward entirely deserving after he had just saved the male lead's life. This time the recruitment trick proved effective. Estrada recovered, continued to climb onto the bike, and Chips rolled on, preparing for the next episodes. Number 4, Erik Estrada ultimately became a real police officer. Chips accompanied Estrada all the way into real life in a way that rare roles could do. Throughout many years, countless real-life police officers continuously came to find him, not just to ask for autographs, but to share that the very model of Ponch inspired them to enter the law enforcement industry. Therefore, Estrada decided to put on a real badge himself. He originally nurtured the dream of being a police officer long before getting attached to Hollywood, and many decades after Chips closed, he realized that. He started with the role of a reserve officer working night shifts in Muncie, Indiana. After that, he assumed the position of deputy sheriff in Bedford County, Virginia, then became a reserve officer in the small town of St. Anthony, Idaho, where his main job was protecting children on the internet environment. All of those things were completely not to show off. He participated in serious training, performed the swearing-in ceremony, and directly stepped into real patrol shifts. The man who once did not know how to ride a motorcycle on the day of accepting the role ultimately spent his later years standing side by side with real-life police officers. He never truly took off the uniform. He only exchanged the camera lens for a real patrol territory. Number 5, Ponch and John secretly could not stand each other. Throughout 6 seasons, the audience always saw Ponch and John side by side like close friends. They joked, covered, saved each other's lives, and looked in the true sense like a perfect duo on all patrol roads. However, behind the camera was a completely opposite story. Estrada and Wilcox spent many years almost only trying to endure the other person's existence. Both once publicly admitted this. Wilcox did not even bother to sugarcoat it when bluntly commenting that Estrada was the most arrogant guy he had ever met. All conflicts stem from the excessively large egos of both, added with the heavy pressure when having to carry a show famous beyond expectations. The more popular the film was, the more deeply their relationship fractured. How bad was it? Even wedding invitations became a tool to ignore each other. Estrada married first and scratched Wilcox off the guest list. 4 months later, Wilcox responded with a similar action on his happy day. Millions of viewers thought they were inseparable soulmates, but in reality, nobody wanted to see the other person's face in real life. It makes people look back at the accident years ago. Wilcox once saved Estrada's life, but even that was not enough to melt the distance between the two. Wilcox left the film before the final season started shooting. Throughout many years, the official reason given was that he voluntarily departed. But recently, Wilcox revealed he was actually forced out, and the person behind it was none other than Estrada. After the film ended, they almost froze all contact for a long time. As time went on, careers turned in different directions, and old disagreements gradually faded away. By the end of the 90s, they reunited in the television movie Chips 99. Now both are able to chat happily and joyfully appear together at fan convention events. The perfect on-screen partner relationship was once a mess behind the scenes, but unlike most Hollywood dramas, this story ultimately had a smooth ending. Number 6, Chips looked authentic because most of what appeared in the show was real. The reason that made Chips bring a different feeling compared to action films of the late 70s was because it rarely looked fake. Of course, the film still had Hollywood-style stagings with car flips, motorcycle slides, or a few explosions whenever writers wanted the highway to be more dramatic. But behind those shots was a large amount of completely real details. Patrol cars were genuine Dodge models bought back from police auctions. The motorcycle lineup was real Kawasaki bikes made correctly according to standards of the patrol force.
As time goes on, we're doing a lot of things, developing both characters. We're having a lot of fun just riding the motorcycles, Kawasaki 900s.
Unlike many police films of that era, which considered functional forces as an excuse for weekly gunfights, Chips truly tried to simulate correctly the highway patrol job. This came from creator Rick Rosner. He thought up this idea during his time working as a reserve deputy sheriff in Los Angeles County. right in a coffee break when seeing two motorcycle officers ride past. He understood clearly real police work was not crashing cars through glass windows every 10 minutes. That was supporting drivers, handling accidents, regulating traffic, and resolving weird things arising during a shift. Even so, television still needed a little exaggeration. A real-life police officer could hardly encounter all three chain car crashes, a bank robber, along with an escaped elephant within just one day. But considering that era, CHiPs tried to keep everything very close to reality, and that was the reason that made many viewers believe Ponch and John were real police. Number 7. Chris Pine appeared in CHiPs even before he was born. Every Hollywood era has artist families following in each other's footsteps, like the Fondas, Barrymores, Douglases, and believe it or not, there is also the Pine family. Very long before Chris Pine commanded the Enterprise starship in the role of Captain Kirk, his father was already a face all too familiar on CHiPs. Robert Pine assumed the role of Sergeant Joseph Getreyer, the boss who always had a headache managing Ponch and John. He always appeared with a face as if regretting every decision to bring those two guys onto his team. But the interesting thing lay in the family element. His real-life wife, actress Gwen Guilford, also played the wife of Sergeant Getreyer on the show. While she was pregnant with their real-life son, he suggested the writers bring this pregnancy detail into the show. They nodded in agreement. However, an unexpected strike broke out, interrupting the plan. By the time the episode returned to shooting, Guilford had already given birth to Chris. As a result, she had to stuff a pillow under her shirt to continue feigning pregnancy on screen. That means the future Captain Kirk, technically, became the center of a plot line in CHiPs even before he was born. On one side is Ponch, full of spontaneity and smooth talking, and on the other is John, cautious and standard. If it were you, who would you choose as your highway riding buddy? Drop a comment right below. Conveniently hit like and subscribe to the channel to rewind time together with me in the next episodes. Number 8. Ponch was originally intended to be Italian. In the early 80s, Erik Estrada was one of the most handsome and famous stars on the small screen. He continuously appeared on the covers of major magazines, sitting comfortably on the list of the sexiest men on the planet voted by People. And fan mail sent to the studio library was countless. The bedrooms of kids back then, almost all had his picture hanging up. For the majority of viewers, Ponch was precisely the biggest attraction, making them turn on the TV every night. Even so, few people knew that this character was originally not written for Estrada, nor for an actor of Hispanic origin. In the original script, this was Frank Poncherelli, a police officer of Italian origin. However, when entering the audition room, Estrada misread the lines, lost his temper, then threw a punch straight into the door. That very moment of outburst made the production crew decide to choose him. Once holding the ticket firmly in hand, he continued to push his luck by proposing to edit the character background. He wanted to change the surname from Poncherelli to Poncherello, turning him into a Hispanic American. The reason was because at that time, American primetime television had never had a Latino character playing a true positive role, and he was determined to turn Ponch into a trailblazer. The production team nodded in agreement, and that was precisely the chance that brought the legendary Ponch model to the audience. Number 9. In CHiPs, the police officers almost never use guns. Nowadays, a police show on TV can hardly finish a commercial break without someone yelling, "Drop the gun!" CHiPs lasted up to 6 seasons with 139 episodes, yet Ponch and John almost never pulled a gun out of its holster. Audiences have argued for decades about the exact number, but in reality it was extremely modest, countable on one hand throughout the entire show. And this was completely not accidental. In the late 70s, NBC proactively limited violent elements, and CHiPs was born as a perfect answer, an action show replacing gunshots with dramatic car crashes. That was also true to the direction of creator Rick Rossner, because real highway patrol work was rarely confronting bank robbers. It was handling incidents, assisting stranded drivers, and maintaining traffic safety. Instead of fiery gunfights, the show brought motorcycle chases and chaos scenes on the open road. On the rare occasions a gun actually appeared, the person drawing it was not even Ponch or John. One of the few times someone on the show drew a gun was Officer Baricha, after a guest character played by Danny Bonaduce charged at him with a pair of nunchucks. Of course it was. It turned out you could completely create a hit police show using charm and crashes instead of firepower. And that is perhaps why an entire generation grew up believing that becoming a motorcycle cop was the coolest job in America. Number 10. Bruce Jenner temporarily replaced Ponch. To most viewers, Chips was Ponch and John, which is why Season 5 was so strange. By 1981, Estrada was already one of the biggest stars on television, and he knew his value well. The show was about to make a lot of money from syndication, and he wanted a piece of that. The problem was MGM refused to pay, so a dispute began to erupt. The salary conflict between the two sides quickly became the loudest drama in the press back then. The studio bet that the show would still run well without its biggest star, while Estrada bet that they could not, so he stopped coming to shoot. Suddenly losing half of the duo while the show still had to be made, the producers turned to a rather odd solution. They hired Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, the 1976 Olympic decathlon champion and a very famous athlete in America. They brought in the character of Officer Steve McLeish to be John's new partner and hoped the audience would just accept it. But the audience did not. In those few episodes, Chips felt like a completely different show. Even though Jenner did his job quite well, viewers still knew exactly what the show was missing. They wanted Ponch back. As viewership dropped due to his absence, the numbers themselves decided everything. The studio had to return to the negotiating table and close a deal. Ponch returned, McLeish left, and Chips went back to the way it was. Number 11, there was a prop hidden on their belts. Look closely at the equipment set of Ponch and John. You will recognize a detail that the real-life California Highway Patrol never carried. Right behind the holster, on the side back of both, there was always a small rectangular pouch. And it only appeared right on the two male leads, completely absent on any other secondary officer. That was actually not any police equipment at all. That was precisely the battery pack for their wireless microphones, cleverly disguised to blend in with the uniform. Because Ponch and John were the only two characters fitted with microphones to record live dialogue, they were also the only ones who had to wear this pouch on their bodies. Number 12, Chips was almost killed off after the first season. Looking back now, Chips seems like a show that was naturally guaranteed success right from the start. Cool motorcycle lineup, memorable soundtrack, and the natural chemistry between the actors. How could there be a problem? Yet there was. When Chips debuted in 1977, the viewership was actually not very impressive. NBC placed the show on Thursday nights. Critical reviews were quite harsh, with one critic even bluntly calling the show terrible, while the audience did not care much. The network began to worry, and when a network worries, they are ready to wipe out a show. The thing that saved Chips, at least in part, was because the NBC president liked the show and wanted to keep it. So instead of canceling, the network tried to moving the show to air on Saturday nights. And that was all it took. Viewership increased almost immediately. Families started turning on the TV to watch. Kids loved Ponch and John, and viewers skyrocketed. A show that once faced the risk of cancellation became one of NBC's biggest successes. Number 13, a future Hollywood legend composed music for Chips. All right, you definitely recognize his music even if you have never heard his name. The grand music in Back to the Future, when the DeLorean hits 88 miles per hour. That's right, it's his. The main theme melody in Forrest Gump with the gentle piano sound as the feather falls down, that also came from him. He even did the music for Predator. All came from one person, composer Alan Silvestri, and he learned his trade right on Chips. In the late 70s, Silvestri was very young, broke, and hard at work on low-budget projects. Chips brought him a steady income on primetime television. Later, he wrote the majority of the background music for the entire series. Not the famous disco theme track, that one was composed by composer John Parker, but all the remaining music. All those melodies running through the chases and rescues, week after week for many years. By the time Chips ended, he received a call from director Bob Zemeckis, and just like that, everything changed. The door of opportunity blew wide open and almost never closed again. Number 14. CHiPs once tried to launch a martial arts police show. Near the end of its broadcast run, CHiPs aired one of the strangest episodes in the history of the series, where Ponch and John barely ever appeared. The Season 5 finale, titled Force 7, was actually a cleverly inserted backdoor pilot. It handled two missions at the same time, serving both as a normal episode and as a launchpad for a completely new project. This planned series revolved around a secret LAPD special unit consisting of martial arts experts specializing in taking down criminals without using guns. So after Ponch and John stopped a drunk driver and accidentally discovered stolen missile blueprints, they almost disappeared for most of the remaining runtime. Making way for them was a group of strangers continuously using karate to fight against a villain wearing a ninja outfit. Loyal viewers understood all too well what they were watching, a public audition, and it failed. Viewers were not interested in a CHiPs episode that lacked its core characters. This spin-off project was quickly shelved, and Force 7 disappeared without a trace. Even so, it still left a mark. Young actor Tom Riley, who was featured in that failed pilot, got noticed. By the next season, Riley officially returned to the show as the new partner brought in to replace John. The pilot episode went nowhere, but accidentally became the bridge that helped CHiPs find its next male lead. But the oddest thing in this entire story? It was the fact that someone in the network office once actually believed America's favorite motorcycle cop show was an appropriate launchpad for a karate movie franchise. Number 15. Ponch and the Village People Cop. Try to imagine the Village People group. A cowboy, a construction worker, a biker, and right in the front row, a cop. Now recall Ponch sitting on the Kawasaki in a tight uniform, along with a pair of mirrored sunglasses. Do you notice anything? Eric Estrada felt the same way. He once said that the cop image of that group was made right after his style. The same tight outfit, that hat, and that, let me see your driver's license and registration attitude. They just brought it intact from the Los Angeles highway and dropped it right in the middle of a disco dance floor. He really liked this. When asked about becoming the prototype for one of the most parodied costumes in pop culture history, Estrada considered it a compliment. So next time the song YMCA plays at a wedding and everyone raises their hands to dance along, remember that guy wearing the cop hat. That image very likely originated from the very motorcycle cop named Ponch. From a life-or-death accident to fiery behind-the-scenes conflicts, it turns out the 1977 show CHiPs was much crazier and more interesting than what we saw on screen. Among the 20 facts just now, which details surprised you the most? Or is there another fact that you know that I haven't mentioned yet? Leave a comment below to let me know. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification bells so you don't miss the next super great Hollywood behind-the-scenes stories. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Goodbye and see you again in the upcoming videos.